The Scottish Premiership fixtures for the 2025-2026 season have been announced, and we're back with a bang because on the first round of fixtures, we're getting not one, not two, not three, but four live televised games. Welcome back, guys, to Fog Football. It's a great day for Scottish football. We've got the announcement of the fixtures for the William Hill Premiership campaign, and we've got 4 televised games on Sky. What more could you ask for? I mean, I guess we could be greedy and ask for all 6, but realistically, we were never going to get that. And it's an interesting time of the season because you always want to see who you're going to be kicking off your campaign against, but not even just who you're kicking off against. You always kind of look at the first 4 games because that tends to be when you go on a little bit. I think that's when the first international break comes in. After 4 games, and that's a kind of good way to gauge where you are in the table after 4 matches. First match, second match, yeah, that's great, but I think after 4, the table already at that point is kind of beginning to form. It's kind of shaping up how you expect it to, and if you get off to, if your first 4 games are difficult, then you get off to a bad start before you know what the pressure's on. But if you can pick up maximum points or even pick up a good tally of points, then it puts yourself in a good position. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to look at the first 4 fixtures, the first 4 match days here. I'm not going to go through the entire campaign because, that would be a bit pointless. I don't think we need to do that, but let's start with the first weekend then. So Scottish football is back. Scottish Premiership is back on the Saturday 2nd of August 2025. Then we get 3 games on a Sunday. And then the final game of the Premiership is on the Monday, which is an 8 o'clock kickoff, by the way, at Tynecastle in the last televised game of the 4. But we begin on Saturday then, so you've got Kilmarnock taking on Livingston. At 3 o'clock, the battle of the plastic pitches. So you got Kelly taking on Livy, newly promoted Livingston, and then 5:30 kick-off Saturday evening. We've got Motherwell at home at Fir Park taking on last year's runner-ups Rangers. That is the first of the 4 televised games. So, Kilmarnock, I think they'll be happy enough with that. A home tie to start the season with the newly promoted Livingston. That's a good chance for Kilmarnock to get off to a winning start. As for Livy, normally, I'd say this would not be a great way to start their campaign. But, Kilmarnock, new manager coming in. We don't exactly know how they're going to be. We don't know how Stuart Kettlewell is going to have this Kilmarnock team playing, even though I do think they've made a couple of good signings so far. So I think both teams will actually be relatively happy with that start this season. I do expect Kelly to probably get the win, but I think that Livingston, if they did beat Kelly, it wouldn't be the biggest surprise, especially considering that they've got a new manager in, but we'll probably know more after the Premier Sports Cup group stages. Right, Motherwell at home. Nobody really wants to kick off against the Old Firm, let's be honest. Rangers would have preferred a home game, but they ain't getting it. I think Rangers will be reasonably okay. Motherwell, obviously, new manager in there as well. Don't really know what you're getting, but Rangers have a new manager too, so this will be the first Premiership game for both guys in charge here of their respective clubs. So, difficult, but I think that Rangers will be happy enough with this, and Motherwell will who knows, maybe Lennon Miller could be playing for the blue team in this match. You never know. Falkirk Dundee United. Falkirk with a home tie to start their campaign up against one of the European teams this season in Jim Goodwin's Dundee United. I think that'll be a pretty decent game. It's on Sky as well, so we get to see how Falkirk do in their first Premiership match back in the top flight. Should be a good one. I think that both teams will be reasonably happy. Dundee United getting one of the newly promoted teams, and Falkirk are getting a home tie, and it's not against one of the top 2. So, yeah, Dundee United could be on course for another top 6 finish this season, but Falkirk, I wouldn't be surprised if they are around and about the top 6. I don't think they'll make it, but I wouldn't be surprised if Falkirk stay up and they're pretty comfortable. You've got Dundee against Hibs, which I think is just both teams I think will be happy with that. Dundee, they're happy to get the home tie. Hibernian, I think they'll look at Dundee, new manager coming in, Stephen Presley, lots of players leaving. I think Hibs, despite that being away from home, I do think Hibs will be looking to pick up a win here. I'm not too sure though where Hibs will be in terms of the Europa League qualifiers, so that could come into play, and maybe that will affect them but I would lean towards Hibs winning that. Celtic, they get a home tie to kick off their season. Of course, they deserve that. They're the champions. St Mirren, look, last game of the campaign, St Mirren got a draw. I'd be surprised if they got a draw to kick off the campaign, but you never know. However, I do think Celtic will be, expected to beat St Mirren, and they probably should. And then in the last game, we've got Hearts versus Aberdeen. A chance for Hearts to show that last season won't be happening again, and I think that they will do that. I think that's a good tie for Hearts at home against Aberdeen, and I think Hearts will be happy, and I think Hearts will actually win that game. So not an easy start for Aberdeen at all, taking on Hearts at Tynecastle. We then move on to the second week, Saturday the 9th of August, 5 games, and then we've got one game on the Sunday. Jesus, Aberdeen taking on Celtic at Pittodrie. So Aberdeen's got a really tough start here to the season. Their first 2 games, away against Hearts, then at home against Celtic. Aberdeen could really be in a situation easily where they have 0 points after 2 games. So, yeah, not good for them. We've got Hearts taking on Dundee at Tannadice. Hibs taking on Kilmarnock at Easter Road. The battle of the newly promoted clubs, Livy taking on Falkirk. St Mirren, Motherwell. Rangers taking on Dundee at Ibrox. So that's on Premier Sports. So the second round of fixtures, we get 2 live televised games. First of all, you got Rangers on the Saturday evening taking on Dundee, and then Celtic going to Pittodrie. That 12:30 kickoff on a Sunday. Livy taking on Falkirk. I mean, the only positive is that kind of gives the newly promoted teams, both of them, a chance. So after 2 games, at least one of the newly promoted teams is guaranteed to have a point. So we know that they're not going to both be completely cut adrift after 2 games. So there is that. We then move on to the following Saturday. Unfortunately, no televised games. I don't like that, but I mean, what can you do? Celtic are taking on Livy at home. Dundee United taking on Aberdeen in the new form derby at Tannadice. Jesus, Aberdeen here getting a really difficult start to the season. That could be no points out of 9. I mean, it's very conceivable that they could lose the opening 3 games of the season. You've got Falkirk taking on Hibernian, Hearts taking on Motherwell, Kilmarnock taking on Dundee, and St Mirren taking on Rangers. So St Mirren here, in 2 of their opening 3 games, are having to take on the old firm, having to take on Rangers and Celtic. And look, they've got a decent record against them. They got that draw against Celtic last year in the final game. They picked up 2 wins, consecutive wins in the league against Rangers. Look, St Mirren can do it, but it's still a difficult start to the season. I'm sure Stephen Robinson will be looking at these fixtures and he won't exactly be pleased, I can tell you that. And then we move on to the 4th round of fixtures. Saturday the 30th of August, we've got Aberdeen taking on Falkirk, Dundee taking on Dundee United in the Dundee derby, Hibernian taking on St Mirren, Livy taking on Hearts, Motherwell taking on Kelly, and then at Ibrox, it's the big game, midday Sunday, 12:00 kickoff. It's Rangers versus Celtic, the first Old Firm game of the 2025-2026 season, and that, of course, is televised on Sky. Disappointed that the Dundee derby is not televised. I think they've produced a lot of good games since both clubs got back in to the top flight. So I would have liked to have seen that televised, but obviously because it's a 3:00 Saturday kickoff, that can't happen. Aberdeen finally getting a bit of an easier tie at home against Falkirk, but here pressure could be on them. Aberdeen could be coming into this game, this 4th game of the season, with 0 points. Now here, maybe they'll get some good results and they could be coming into this game with quite a lot of points on the board, but this could be an important must-win game if it doesn't go well for them in the opening 3. You got Hibernian, St Mirren. So I mean, look at St Mirren taking on Celtic, Rangers in the 2 of the opening 3 games, and then their 4th game is away against Hibs at Easter Road. That's tough, man. St Mirren have been shafted. Out of all the teams, I think that St Mirren have definitely drawn the short straw here. To get Celtic, Rangers and Hibs, I don't care what people say, Hibs at the moment, as things stand, they're the 3rd best team in Scotland. They proved it last season by finishing 3rd. Yeah, they didn't win the Scottish Cup and they've not got the guaranteed European group stage football, but on paper and on form, Hibs are the 3rd best team. Some people would even argue on form, when last season ended, you could make the case they were the 2nd best team in the league on form. So I feel bad for St Mirren. Stephen Robinson, he'll not be happy. 3 of the opening 4 games are against the best 3 teams in the league. That's absolutely shocking from his perspective. But yeah, guys, that is the That is the opening fixture. So, I mean, we'll quickly go through the rest and see if... I'm not going to go through them all, but we'll quickly go through some more and see if there's any good televised games on. So, I don't like that. Oh, I guess they haven't announced them yet. Oh, well, that one... Oh, of course. The old firm games are definitely... They've already been announced in advance, so it's like... I guess we're guaranteed they have to be shown. But, yeah, outside of the first 4 weeks, we don't know any other televised games other than Celtic Rangers and Rangers Celtic. So that's it, guys. Let us know your thoughts. Who do you think got the toughest round of fixtures in the opening 4 match days? Who do you think got the easiest? Who do you think got the luck of the draw when it comes to the Scottish Premiership fixtures? Let us know in the comments. I'll catch you in the next one. Been Fog Football. Thanks for watching and peace.